Good morning. It's Monday, December 3rd, 2018. It's 9 a.m. This is the Muscatine County Board of Supervisors. I'd like to call the meeting to order. First is to review the agenda.
Move to approve as presented.
Second.
I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 3, receive comments from the public. Is there anyone that would like to address the board that on an issue that's currently not on the agenda? Seeing no one come forward, we'll move to number 4. Discussion and possible action to approve claims dated December 3rd, 2018 in the amount of $740,835.12.
Move to approve.
I'll second.
I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Number 5, items with Michael Nolan of Horizon Architecture. Morning, Mike.
Morning.
First up is a discussion and possible action to approve a quote in the amount of $24,909.05 from Story Kenworthy Office Interiors and Products for chairs and tables for the Muscatine County 3rd floor courtroom renovation project.
Okay, everybody should have hopefully a copy of the invoice in the breakout there. So we met with Nicole Dahlfeld at the HON facility to look at the furniture, look at what we need to do for fixed and movable furniture for the 2 new conference room spaces, additional mobile chairs or stackable chairs for the courtroom, and then we're going to do new tables for the council's areas, new jury-based chairs, and then new chairs for everybody except for the judge. Judge Rydell said they just got a new chair, so he's going to stick with his. But essentially, this would be new furniture for everything except for the pew seating in the audience gallery area, which is something we'll address as we go. But this will be brand new furniture for everything in those new areas. What you'll see on there, the quantities, if you look for the, there's some of those that are 2 per chair. So we have the mid-back work chairs are more or less a regular for the courtroom tables and the jury box, so those are going to be more of an adjustable chair. They'll have a base for the jury area. There'll be a fixed base chair. It's just going to be a nice upgrade. The other thing we're doing is everything is going to be wipeable, cleanable surfaces, so no more of the, if you've been over in the courtroom, they have this kind of cloth armrest things. The idea here is to go to 0 maintenance as much as possible, very easy to maintain. You have stacking chairs, which will have also a cart with it, so we can take those in and out. So right now in the courtroom, we have a lot of those older, nice wood chairs, but there's just no way to store those. The goal is to clear out as much of the clutter as we can to keep that nice and clean as we go. So you'll see those on there. The other chairs you'll see are more or less just a regular work chair that are going to be somewhere in between. They're not like a full office task chair, but mobile, something that can work in the courtroom, but then also work in the conference rooms. All the tables, they're going to be stackable and linkable, so even the table in that larger conference room, which may be used at different times for potentially a second jury room, or could be used smaller, those tables will be able to come apart and also be used in the courtroom. So if we have one scenario they threw out was if you had multiple defendants or multiple plaintiffs, you might need to actually do a second tier in the council area, so we'll be able to take that furniture out of the other rooms versus just buying stuff that will probably not be used in the courtroom. So we built in some flexibility with that. And then that's pretty much it. Otherwise, you'll see on the tables, we're going to have everything. We'll have power pop-ups on the surface. We'll have boxes to connect the tables themselves, but in the courtroom, we shouldn't have to have a lot of drop cords running around. So that'll include audio, visual, electronic connections for the council tables. The ones in the jury rooms or over in the other rooms will have just to flip up the power on the top. But again, trying to make this as clean as we can for everything as we go through. The recommendation for this includes the county pricing, but the recommendation from the supplier is to hold off on ordering these until April. So if we order them now, then we're going to incur warehousing fees in the interim. So the idea would be is that my recommendation would be if we can approve the order right now and hold that, then when we are ready and coordinated with the construction schedule, we'll just basically order those at times so they can be delivered at the time that they're ready to go into the courthouse. We don't have to worry about them warehousing on their end or us having it in the store somewhere on our end.
And they'll honor that price in April?
Yep. Yeah, there was one of the thing we were looking at, we did a analysis to see whether it was worthwhile because the HON is going to have a price increase. We looked at the warehousing cost versus just holding on to the new cost. But if we get this cost right now, we'll lock that in for the April order.
Mike, I assume that this was within our budget amount, within our plan.
This would be in addition, this is not, for the original contract that we have for the general contract.
Right, wasn't what part of the wolf, but it was in our project plan. We had to set aside dollars for this.
That's correct.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah, it seemed like we had in this range or maybe a little bit
And
more.
this was right where I expected it to be, so
Okay.
happy with this.
Do we have a plan for the existing furniture? Are we gonna donate it? Do we have a place to use it? Other places to make it? You gonna sell it or what?
I think first, we're gonna see if we can use it anywhere else, and then, I mean, it'll come back to the board until we make a decision. There may be other areas in the courthouse that wanna use some chairs and, that stuff in the jury box. I don't know, there's a lot of upholstery stuff that's really worn out, but there are some oak chairs like this that we probably won't get rid of unless we just can't find a use for them.
I think of one of the pews we're discussing that, we looked at a fixed seating option for the courtroom gallery, and I think we'll probably end up doing is modifying those pews, but everything else will be taken out, and we'll, sure, so we'll tag it for reuse if we can.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I've got a motion by Jeff, second by Bob. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Next, we have a discussion and possible action to accept a proposal to complete the additional survey and assessment of the jail and community services building mechanical systems for a not-to-exceed amount of $7,800 per the recent in-depth board discussion regarding development of a facilities master plan for Muscatine County.
Yeah, following our last conversation, two things that came out was the multi-stack unit at the jail is something that seems to be, is not functioning absolutely correctly, and is something that we want to just understand if there's anything we can do with it immediately, or to prog out what the lifetime of that particular system is and when that would need to be replaced. So what I did was ask the mechanical engineer I worked with just to give us a more or less an hourly rate, similar to the way that I'm doing the facility portion of the survey, to come and look at that, and this would be brought in, they look at it and say, well, it's fine, or figure out we're going to need 5 years, or figure out where we are in between there. That was something that was brought up in that meeting, that is something we need to look at. The other building that was a particular concern was the community services building. Just wanted to look at what's there, the lifetime of that. The real intent of this is to figure out what we have, what's the lifetime is, what's the probable cost, and get a better idea from the engineers that work with this stuff on a day-to-day basis, and then to put that into the timeline for the planning. So this would, they would just basically work with me. I would help them to get them into the facility to do the walkthrough, and then their information and cost estimates would be rolled into the final master plan report.
I would move to approve that
I'll second.
for the simple reason I want to get this project done. This way we can look at in the future needs and try to get it all done at once.
Are we still, are this in jeopardy for our budget process next year? We'll have that master plan. You were still in good shape on that?
I think from this point, we've talked about, what we talked last time, the cost estimates, that hasn't moved a whole lot. What I will do is try and get these guys in here early, here sometime hopefully within the next week or so we can at least get an initial projection and figure out order of magnitude, what costs we should have budgeted in a timeline, and then we can work on the details. I would expect that we will refine the budget numbers. The final report will probably be sometime in January to get that together, but as far as the budgeting process, I think we're really focusing on getting the information we need right now. So I don't see this being significant change to that timeline.
Okay, good.
Very good. Well, I've got a motion by Bob and a second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else, Mike?
Actually, I do have a little piece of good news. I got a call from Myers Construction this morning. They are 90% complete with the demolition work in the elevator shaft. They had the installers from Schumacher come out, and they have measured, we're going to verify, but we're 99% sure that we're not going to have to do the roof modifications that we thought we would need to do to install the hoist beam for the elevator. There's one piece of metal that goes in, essentially they hit a sling over it to pull the elevator equipment up the shaft as they're building it. Once the elevator equipment's installed, it just becomes an extra piece of steel. The installers came and looked at it and said, well, you've got 12 feet 4 inches to the underside of the deck, which was what we hoped we would have somewhere in that neighborhood. They said we should be able to put a beam directly underneath that and then not have to do the roof modification modification. So what Myers is gonna look at is they will issue a credit back to the county for the work that we don't need to do. But that's great, because we don't have to get into the roof, we don't have to do a bunch of masonry up on top of the building. So that should be a significant change to that contract. So we're gonna take a look at that. They're in coordination to verify, but I was happy to hear that the installer of the elevator was the one who looked at it and said, hey, you probably don't need to do this. So what you may see as a result of that is they're completing the interior wall demolition, they're gonna do the floor and the pit demolition, but that will probably be wrapped up here in the next couple of weeks. And in that project, this may sit idle for a couple, I think until mid-January when the elevator equipment arrives. But I'm happy with that. I think it's a good approach. What I recommended was the last unforeseen condition is once we start to demolish the floor of the elevator and dig down, we're working off of the drawing, so we have an idea of what's there. We just want to verify any existing conditions will have enough room to get the elevator in without any more modifications. Once we get through that part, I asked Blaine then to process the credit so we understand, essentially once they get done with their portion of the work, to have the shaft ready to go.
Good.
That's excellent. There's not often in projects like this do you have
Good news.
the pendulum swing this direction.
Yeah, it's nice. When they took that out, he's like, we got the room. I said, oh, excellent. Yes,
Very
we
good.
like- we
Mike,
like
is that
direction.
little structure that's kind of framed up on, is that a temporary structure then?
Yep, that was put up there to basically so they could enclose and have that space conditioned while they had the roof off, and then also while they're doing the masonry. That will probably stay in place. There was a vent that was at the top of the elevator shaft, which is no longer required. That will be removed, and we'll get that infilled. So that's going to go away. So it'll be a little roof patch there. But the nice thing is we don't have to mess with the rest of the parapet.
Thanks.
Thank you.
All right,
Appreciate it.
that's it.
Number 6, informational update on Muscatine County Extension Office activities with County Extension Director Krista Reganator. Krista, good morning.
Good morning. Thanks for having me this morning. I was talking to Nancy about a project that we have going on at the Extension Office and kind of realized it'd probably just be a good idea for me to come every once in a while since we are an extension of county government too, and just share a little bit about what's happening at the Extension Office. And so I just wanted to do a little overview about the different activities that we do and then fill you in on our new project that Mike is helping us with. So to kind of get us started, just to, I know you guys are already aware of the Extension Office and what we do, but just to do a little framing. So we work in partnership with Iowa State University as the land grant university, and our role is to help deliver research-based information and partnerships to Muscatine County to help strengthen the county. And we do that in lots and lots of different ways, but just to remind, I kind of like a bit of history. So the land grant university system started with President Lincoln in 1862, creating universities that were focused more on working class and agriculture and home economic sciences. And the whole purpose of the national extension system is to partner with those land grant universities and bring that information and education out to the citizens. So, and then I thought it was interesting to add that in 1955 is when the Iowa legislature enacted the County Agriculture Extension Law. So we are a part of the Iowa Code, Chapter 176A. We do receive a small portion of property taxes from the county, and that is one of our main streams of income, along with grants, contracts, and then program fee revenue. There is an extension office in all 99 counties, and actually, just in case you are at a trivia night, Pottawatomie County is split in half, and they actually have 2 county extension offices, so there's 100 of them across the whole state of Iowa. And I report to a 9-member board of elected officials, so they're on the ballot, but people don't know them as well as you guys. We just had two new members join us that will be joining in January. And we partner with every college on the campus of Iowa State, but our main core programs are in 4 areas. So we do programming in agricultural and natural resources, human sciences, 4-H youth development, and community economic development. So just a few things that we do. To go over those really quickly of what's happening here in Muscatine County. So in 4-H youth development, we have more than just 4-H clubs, which is what I think a lot of people think of when they think of 4-H, is those traditional club models. And we did have 342 kids participate in 4-H clubs last program year, so our program year is similar to the school year. But we also do camps, and as I was saying earlier, we had I think 169 kids registered for our summer camps that we offered last summer. We do no school day camps, so we'll have one in January and in February on the 2 days that there's no school, and over spring break. And all of our camps use 4-H curriculum, so it's a hands-on learning by doing, experiential learning that includes science, technology. It includes healthy living, citizenship and leadership, and communication and the arts. And so this is all research-based curriculum that either comes from Iowa 4-H or another 4-H in another state. We also do in-school and after-school programs. So we have a program that's called Ricochet that we do in the middle schools. We partner with like Flickinger Learning Center and other after-school programs, Grant School. Last year had a leadership lab after school, now it's in school. We are partnering with the new after-school programs at McKinley and Madison. And then we also do events. Like the other day, we participated in the Bear. Every year, Monsanto or Bear, they have a 5th grade Ag Day, and we participate in that too. So we do a variety of different modes. We had 800, I'm gonna have to look at I think it's 810. Let's see if my memory serves me. 805. We had 805 school-age kids participate in some sort of 4-H programming last program year, so that represents 1 in 10 kids in the county are somehow involved in some of our 4-H programming. Ag and natural resources, I think maybe this would be the area that you guys are more familiar with. You talked about Virgil Schmidt, our agronomist that's in our office. So we do have 6 field specialists that cover Muscatine County. Virgil, as our agronomist, is the only one that is housed in Muscatine. A lot of these other folks are housed in Iowa City, but they cover Muscatine County. And producers and farm operators can call and access resources, one-on-one consultations from these folks, but they also lead a variety of different educational opportunities in the county. Pesticide applicator trainings, manure applicator trainings, farm lease meetings, things like that. So that's kind of our ag, the farm side of it. On the urban side, we have the master gardeners. We have about 35 active master gardeners. And master gardeners actually have to go through 40 hours of training, and then they have to do a 40-hour internship and volunteer service to become a master gardener. And to stay a master gardener, they have to continue 20 hours of volunteer service a year and 10 hours of continuing ed. So it's not like just being in a garden club. they do a lot of work, and some of the projects that they're involved in is the Muscatine Arboretum. Charles Rickey is the master gardener over there. Mary Rose Peterschmidt is the master gardener who started the zoo garden at Weed Park. They do projects at the fairgrounds. Bill Kolner has been doing a lot of different tree planting at the fairgrounds. So master gardeners are involved in a lot of different projects, and they also do education, partner with MCC every year and put on an all-day symposium called Art of Gardening. So they last year donated $3,200 or 200 hours, volunteer hours, which equates with the state of Iowa's equation of volunteer hours per dollar, over $70,000 worth of volunteer service to the community. Another area that we do is that human sciences, health and well-being, and we do programming either in family life, which is basically anything from parenting to caregiving and aging programming. We do nutrition and wellness. So one of the pictures up there is a program called Latinos Living Well, which is a diabetes prevention program specific to a Latino audience, since the research tells us that Latinos are twice as likely to have diabetes than the general population, so that's targeted information that comes out of Iowa State. The Buy It Live Healthy program is a SNAP Ed funded program where we can meet with families for 9 sessions that are low resource families, and we talk about a spectrum of things from nutrition, shopping on a budget, incorporating activity, and they also cook, so a lot of times the parents are learning cooking skills that they haven't learned in the past, so that they are more likely to have a nutritious diet with their family. And then the Juntos program is another one of our programs, which is a program specific targeted to Latino middle school students, and the families come through a family workshop series where they learn about the American academic system, they learn about the transition from middle school to high school and then high school to higher ed. The goal of that program is to increase the Latino graduation rate to match our general graduation rate in Muscatine, because it's about 10% lower right now.
10%, you said?
Mm-hmm. And then the economic development, the economic development piece of extension, they typically don't run through the county offices the same way the other 3 areas do. So a lot of these programs are direct service programs. But just to point out, like they do trainings, local government trainings. So I think there was some in Cedar Rapids this fall where newly elected officials can go to trainings that are sponsored by Extension. They do different partnerships with communities on community betterment and things like that. But because they don't go exactly through our Extension office, it's probably the area that I'm the least familiar with. But they do a ton of stuff. So that's kind of a summary of what we do in Muscatine County. I did give you guys our annual report from 2017, so you can kind of see a summary. By the end of the month, we'll have our 2018 annual report done too. And I believe all of you get our newsletter, our monthly newsletter. I kind of just added you because you're board of supervisors. So hopefully you scour over that and see all the exciting stuff that we're doing all the time. But our news that we were talking about before the meeting started is that we kind of had an opportunity to look at where we live, where our office is at. Our current location is leased, and we anticipate about a 35–36% increase in our rent come October 2019, because September 2019 is the end of this term. We do have the option to take one more 5-year term on our current lease, but after that, it's free game. And that uncertainty and the financial situation of where we're at, and they could just rent it to somebody else in 5 years, made the Extension Council look at different options. And we did look at things like maybe partnering with MCC and taking a spot on their campus. We looked at different buildings. We looked at building, which was way too expensive. We found the building at 1601 Plaza Place, which this is Mike's rendition of what it will somewhat look like in the future. And right now it's separated into 6 distinct units, so and only one of them is currently being rented, so most of the building is vacant. So we're excited to not only find a great place that's a good home for us, but also the fact that we feel like we're going to be improving that area for the community too. And so this is just a drawing. I know this is way too small for you guys to see, but what I really want to point out in here is the large meeting room. We currently, have you all been in an Extension office? So we have a large meeting room in there that capacity about 75 people, and that room is used a ton by the community group. So if they're a nonprofit or a community group, they can use it for free. Any for-profit, there's a small fee to use it, but it's mostly nonprofits. It's garden clubs. It's the teachers union uses it. We have homeowners associations that use it. Parkinson's group, Gilda's club. I mean, it's just a really wide spectrum. Over 44 groups consistently used it last year. And when we moved, we really wanted to be able to continue to offer that to the community because we feel like it's really used. I mean, our 4-H clubs use it, Master Gardeners use that space. So in this building, we were able to keep that space. It will have a separate entrance like our building does now, so people can check out a key and use it after hours. We're really excited because this building will connect us to a lot more outdoor recreation activities than we currently have. We're really landlocked and not walkable. When we move, we'll be right by Weed Park. We'll be by Colorado School. We'll, the Band-Aid, Bridgestone Band-Aid nature area is over there, the city trail system. So we feel like we're going to be able to increase our offerings and connect to those outdoor resources a lot. We also feel like this location is going to give us a lot more security, better lighting in the parking lot, a bit safer of a feeling since we do have youth groups meeting in the evening and at night. So we're really excited. We feel like we've worked really hard to use the space to the best of our ability. We'll have a small meeting room, large meeting room, and then our staff offices. We'll continue to have a kitchenette, which is used quite frequently for programming in the Extension office. So we're pretty excited, but we are currently in the fundraising stage of the process. So we have submitted a grant application to the Carver foundation, and we will know by the end of January if we receive that. We are hoping to go have our first public meeting for the bidding process at the end of January, have bids closing mid-February, and be able to get work started in March.
So you've acquired the property now?
Yes, so the Extension Council bought the property, and we've used our existing funds to contract services with Mike and the engineering firm. We got a mortgage through First National Bank to purchase the building, and then we have an additional construction loan. So we are definitely putting a lot of our own resources into the building, but especially, I think one of the things that we didn't anticipate is the cost to connect 6 separate units and redo the HVAC, plumbing, and electrical. So the project was a little more than we anticipated, but we feel confident that we're gonna get the funding to move forward.
So it's probably done like a residential with independent systems in each one?
I was
And
curious.
it's not been maintained.
I was curious on your large meeting room, I know you spoke of how important it was on your current location. Do you have approximately the same type of square footage, or?
So our current meeting room
I
is
see
an
it.
L shape, and so it's the same square footage minus that little alcove that is not used very often in our current, so the square footage is slightly smaller, but it's taking a kind of a piece of our current room that isn't really used, because they had, I think, originally planned to put a closet over there, and then they just left it open, and so I don't know if you've been in there where it's kind of, there's an alcove. So if you take that out, then yes, it's
Very
the
good.
same. Yep. So let's see where we're at. So just to remind you, so I mean, our mission really is that research-based education and programs. That's what we do, and in partnership with Iowa State and other land-grant universities. I mentioned the Juntos program, that's a North Carolina extension program. So I think that's kind of the neat thing about being a part of extension, is that we have a national connection and network that we can pull on. And my goal, being I work for our local county extension, is really just to be looking at Muscatine County, trying to be connected enough to know where we can plug in extension resources that will help improve the lives for citizens in Muscatine County. So that is our goal. But beyond what we do here in Muscatine County, I just want to point out, and I gave you guys like a hotline card. Extension has a lot of statewide resources too. So that's more just to make you aware that we have lots and lots of resources at different levels, and so we're connecting people, like the Iowa Concern Hotline that was created after the farm crisis. We've been really promoting that lately because we know that a lot of our farm producers are having a hard time, so we're trying to make sure they have resources. Our human sciences and ag have actually started partnering together so they can talk about stress management when they're going out and doing applicator trainings. So because we're connected to all the different colleges, we can cross those wires sometimes and bring services that are a little unique to folks. And so that's us, and like I said, hopefully do you all receive our newsletter? Do you remember if you receive our newsletter? Okay, good. You can always like us on Facebook. We have that e-newsletter we've started, but we're just trying to use the resources the best to serve Muscatine County. I wanted you guys to be aware of our project, our building project, and just thought maybe it would be a good thing for me to come annually and just update you on what Extension is doing, since we're kind of a sister county government streak with you guys.
I know over the years, the personnel that staff the extension office out there, generally speaking, has a substantial longevity for the personnel. I mean, Virgil's been there for as long as.
Yeah, I'm
Been there a
curious if
while.
Virgil's gonna move with me or not, because it's gonna take him a lot to pack up his office. I don't know if you come and visit Virgil's office.
My suggestion would be to start early.
Yeah, no, we actually, we are gonna close to the public 3 days after Christmas and tackle our storage room. And I've invited Virgil to join us on that. He works for Iowa State, so I can't, like, my staff, I can say, hey, this is what you're
Right.
gonna do. Virgil, I can say, hey, we would love you to partner with us. So, and we are starting early to try to clean things out. And Shirley, our office manager, has been there for, I think it'll be 18 years. So we do have some staff with great longevity, and you know, we have folks that walk in the door with lots of interesting things as far as bugs and plants and things like that. And Shirley is a great asset to us because she
I
can
send a lot of
really.
people there. A lot of people don't realize the services that are provided there for information. And I
Exactly.
send a lot of people there,
Yeah,
you know, with questions from A to Z.
Yeah, and let's see, it's December, so in a couple weeks, it'll be my 4-year anniversary with Extension, and I think that we've really tried over the last 4 years to get out there more, and to be partnering and be at the table and trying to make people more aware of the resources at every level that we have available through Extension.
I thought it was wonderful when Mr. Ricky, went there and to assist in that.
Yeah.
That man is an absolute wealth of knowledge.
Yes, I call him often, like lots of times that I go to my master gardeners first before I even go to the plant and insect disease clinic, just because they're quicker, you know. Yeah, he is a wealth of
He's helped
knowledge.
me on numerous occasions.
And the Arboretum is such an asset. I mean, every time I go out there, you see people walking, and it really, and for FFA, and they've labeled the plants, and you know, he is a huge asset to our community.
Yeah, very good.
Any other questions?
Well, thank you so much for your presentation, and we really appreciate it. Good job.
Thank you. Hey Nancy, do you just want me to leave that up here, or do you want me to close this down?
You can close it down.
Okay. Next up is going to be items with County Engineer Keith White. Morning, Keith.
Good morning.
The first is discussion of possible action to approve various utility permits.
We have 3 this morning. And the first is Muscatine Power and Water of Muscatine, Iowa. And they are running both underground electric and fiber under Wiggins Road from roughly house number 2417 south to the Butterfly Farm. The next 2 are both Eastern Iowa Light and Power, REC, Wilton, Iowa. And one is, they're both replacing poles and anchors. One's on 130th Street from Underwood West, about a third of a mile, 5 poles, to house number 3231. And the other is on 140th Street, west from Underwood to house number 3167, about 3/4 of a mile or 13 poles. Those are the requests.
Keith, on the Muscatine Power and Water now, how has all that been going, the dialogue back and forth and following the instructions that you guys put out for the fiber optics?
Well, I think it's gone pretty well. There's not a lot where they interact in the county.
Okay, good to hear that.
I'll move to approve.
Second.
I got a motion by Matt, second by Jeff. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. Projects update.
Not a lot of change, other than all the concrete out at the office did get placed and is open, although the work is, you know, a ways from complete with backfilling and that, which weather may or may not allow them to do, but it's open and functional. And on the design side, not a lot of change there other than on the G28 swap project. The appraisers have stated that they're close to being done with the appraisals, and they thought we would get them this week, that we can maybe move forward with right-of-way purchasing there. That's mainly it.
Did
Any questions?
this last rain event and snow melt and so on cause any real issues with some of these projects that have just gotten completed going into the fall in regard to erosion issues with the high water current and so on, or just nothing that stands out
In
currently?
relative terms, no.
Okay.
We did have an area it's unrelated to projects, that's down in the lowland swamp where there's a lot of flooding going on with beaver dams and snow melt and that.
Okay.
We did have a lot of overtime on the payroll that's being submitted today. And it seemed to, the last couple storms have hit the weekend, so guys have worked a lot of hours. You know, like 40 hours of overtime, so.
Well, when you have that size of an event, it takes a little effort to get things in order.
Right.
So, and, you know, you and I had several discussions in regard to a couple projects that people wanted to move forward on, but Mother Nature hindered that.
Right.
It's just the way it is.
Yeah.
Well, I thought we did a good job on the roads. I know it appeared to me a hell of a lot better than what the city did. So if we're trying to compare, I think the county did a pretty good job.
I thought they did a really good job. Was it perfect? No, but I thought they did a really good job.
The only mistake is they missed my driveway.
Miss plowing it in or plowing it over?
Maybe they did plow it in.
You're gonna work a lot easier.
All right, anything else?
No.
Keith? All right, very good. Thank you. Number 8, discussion and possible action to approve an ordinance repealing ordinance 03261801 and establishing a local option sales and service tax applicable to transactions within certain incorporated and unincorporated areas of Muscatine County for the period July 1, 2019 through June 30th, 2034 on the first of 3 readings.
This, you guys passed an ordinance back in March, after the last election was completed. Now that we need to add Stockton as well, what we're doing is we're repealing the old one and just adopting a new one that includes Stockton.
Okay, I was wondering if that was it. So I'll move to approve.
I've got a motion by Jeff, a second by Nathan. This is a roll call vote. Jeff?
Aye.
Nathan? Bob?
Aye.
Matt? Aye. And I vote aye. Motion passes. Number 9, discussion and possible action to approve the minutes of November 26, 2018 regular meeting.
So moved.
I got a motion by Jeff,
Second.
second by Bob. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Correspondence. Bob, do you have anything?
Had a contact from Doug Boyd on the size of rock we use and so forth, and looking for some information, and so I passed that on.
Okay. Nathan?
I did not.
I did not either. Jeff?
Nothing.
Matt?
Nothing in
Committee reports, Matt?
nothing
Is that nothing? Jeff?
On Thursday, last Thursday, we had the We Lead board meeting, monthly board meeting. All went well. We did approve an offer out to a new executive director. N.J. Garten is the name, and I've heard since that she has accepted our offer and will be starting. I don't recall the start date, but as you know, the previous executive director is off on another job, so we're kind of board's running it, so it'll be nice to get a new director in there and get the day-to-day handled there. So hopefully in the next couple of weeks that'll happen.
Okay. On Wednesday, the 28th, I had the Board of Health. Also on the 28th was the Bi-State meeting, and there was a presentation given at Bi-State in regard to the group of participants at Bi-State and the buying program that is available to Bi-State members. And they just kind of outlined the buying group status and being able to buy products in bulk for different entities, and it was pretty informative. Nathan?
I just had the Bi-State as well.
Okay. And Bob?
Well, one that I neglected to get to, because I was out that meeting, was on November 19th, I had the Conservation Board, so I'm gonna pass this information along. Most of it's regarding, the new bike stand they're putting down at Leaf Lakes, along with the cost of the housing that's going down there and the bids they had on that. The only other thing I wanna mention was that November, program was 38 for Lockheed out there, and the attendance was 1198. I was trying to keep you guys up on that. That was pretty good. So that's the only item that I can have.
Okay. Receive information from county employees. Are there any county employees that would like to address the board? Seeing no one come forward, we will go on to number 13, items with the administration office. A is discussion and possible action to approve a hiring request for a part-time financial services support 2 for community services.
Community Services has had this vacancy has had a vacancy for quite some time yet. Now, we had hoped that when I get my other position filled that we could provide some support there. However, in the meantime, they have been using a temp. And so this, rather than pay that temp rate going forward, this just makes them a county employee with the understanding that as we move forward, that the next vacancy may not be filled depending on what support they can get from my office, so.
Nancy, I know, in reading this, I know Linda, she's a fine person. Why does she need to be insured as a driver?
That is something that we typically do for any of our employees who may use a county car.
So what is she, I guess, maybe tell me a little bit about what she does so that.
Most of what she's doing is accounting work and clerical work. You know, there may be occasion where she needs to make a bank run or something of that sort, and may use the county vehicle to do so.
How much does that cost to add her?
And we don't get charged by number. We belong to an insurance pool, so we don't get charged by the number of people that we add as drivers. It doesn't affect the cost at all, which is why we typically err on the side of insuring most of our employees just in case a situation comes up and they need to drive a county vehicle.
Sounds good.
Might be a situation where she only has to do it a few times a year.
Yep.
Okay.
So if you fill the other position in your office, is this position gonna be?
If we fill the other position in our office, at that time, we would take a look at, you know, what they have for staff, where they have a number of people that serve as, that are close to retirement. So we think that we can probably address the issue through, just through the natural progression of people leaving once we have somebody in and up and running, so that's the intent.
I was just curious if that was the case. I mean, instead of regular, it could be, we could hire her on as a county employee, but as temporary status, pending a hiring in your office for another opening in that office.
That's certainly an option. I mean, I think realistically, we can only keep somebody in temp status for 6 months, and then, at least under IPER's rules, we're required to make them a permanent employee or let them go. Realistically, I don't know that even if I got that position filled very soon here, that we'd be that they would be up and running and could remove those duties there. The person that we're actually looking at hiring probably doesn't intend to work certainly not the next 20 years. I mean, they're probably relatively short term. And as a part-timer, we're providing no benefits.
All right, that was just.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Got a motion by Jeff, second by Matt, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. B is discussion and possible action to approve a hiring request for a treasurer's clerk 3 for the treasurer's office.
Again, this is a situation where we have someone retiring, and so this replaces that person. The last time we put together our salary program, we created 3 levels of treasurer's clerks so that they have ability to move up as they learn. This request is to hire that person in at the lowest level. However, they are requesting to hire them at midpoint, based on extensive previous experience, with attorney firms and just handling, legal documentation. I concur with the request to bring them in at that level.
I move to approve.
Motion by Jeff, second by Nathan. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Do you know what the start date on that one would be?
I believe that they're gonna start the day after Christmas. That's at least what we've discussed, but I don't know that that's finalized yet. Okay?
C is action to accept November 2018 payroll claims.
Move to approve.
Second.
A motion by Jeff, second by Matt. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Anything else, Nancy?
Just the only other thing is I just want to remind you that the board will have a meeting on December 10th and December 17th, and then there will be no more board meetings until the 2nd of January, because the following 2 Mondays are holidays.
Okay,
Okay?
very good, thank you. If there's nothing else, I'm sorry? Yes, go ahead.
Well, I neglected to say that we had Veterans Affairs last week on Tuesday, and their budget is ready for submission and has been reviewed and looks satisfactory, so we getting that. If Sherry hasn't got it yet, she'll be getting it pretty soon.
Okay.
You know, we are moving into that time of year.
It is that time of year.
Yep, Sherry has issued the
Budget calendar?
budget requests out to all of the departments. Some of the personnel-related information is due back to me by the end of this week, and I think the rest of the requests are due back to her by Wednesday or Thursday of next week, so.
And have some of the, all outside agencies, other agencies, when do they get their letter? Have they gotten that yet? or
I
do you
don't know
expect
if she sent those out or not. If she hasn't, they'll go out this week.
Okay. Very good. If there's nothing else to come before the board today, meeting adjourned.
What's that short?